Speedrunning in video games is a concept nearly as old as video games themselves. And, in the past decade, due to well-known events such as Awesome Games Done Quick, speedrunning's popularity has seen a massive spike. But for both the hardcore and the more casual fan, there has also been a rise in popularity for videos documenting the world record progressions. There are multiple channels creating this content, but by far the most popular and influential is a speedrunner and video creator called Summoning Salt. He single-handedly pioneered a new subgenre of videos that have received millions of views. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the world progression of world record progression videos. Videos on speedrunning have existed on the internet in some form or another for a long period of time. But most of these were just repostings of the runs made by various speedrunners, and many without any actual commentary explaining to laymen the tricks or techniques used in ways that were easy to understand. There were some videos that would focus on an individual trick or skip and explain that, but they weren't usually in the context of a larger run, just trying to help newer speedrunners understand an individual skip that they would need to learn in order to make a serious run at the game themselves. But all this changed on January 7th, 2017, when a YouTube channel by the name of Summoning Salt uploaded a video called Mike Tyson World Record Progression. The closest thing to this before were some streams by ZFG, a prominent speedrunner for Ocarina of Time, in which he would go back and watch outdated speedruns and explain the discovery of newer optimizations and skips that had replaced them. But the idea of collecting different players' runs and playing them in chronological order, explaining the differences between each improvement or little change between the runner's styles and techniques, hadn't been done yet. Perhaps the most impressive and surprising moment of the video is when Summoning Salt casually mentions that he is the world record holder towards the end of the video, having not been a character in the story for the first 11 minutes.
Right at the end, and then I took the single segment record with a 2:24 Tyson.
Summoning Salt has said that he was originally inspired to make a video like this in October of 2016, but became frustrated at how it was coming together, and he put it on the back burner for a few months. But when the video was dropped, suddenly, a new subgenre had been born. While his Mike Tyson video only achieved a few thousand views, he was encouraged by others to make it a series, and within a week and a half, he had published another video, World Record Progression Super Mario Bros. I reached out to Summoning Salt for some comments on his quick rise to success and what inspired him to make this a series. At the time, Summoning Salt was sitting around 600 subscribers on YouTube, but by the next morning, the video was on the front page of Our Videos, and the world record holder for Super Mario Bros. At the time, Darbian, showed it on his stream, which had around 1,000 viewers watching. By the next day, Summoning Salt's YouTube had 2,000 subscribers, and only a few days later it had ballooned to 5,000. Reaffirmed that he was onto something, he decided to make the world record progression videos into a series. And in just another week and a half, we had World Record Progression Super Mario 64. While Summoning Salt himself has mentioned that he wasn't as proud of this video in terms of the accuracy of the information presented,
Perhaps it was considered too daunting.
This is where I started to screw stuff up. Disclaimer, everything I say for like the next 4 minutes is pretty much like wrong. Because I used like a Google Doc source. Or no, was it a Google Doc? I think it was just a web page that had like a list of every record, but it was like wrong completely. And I just went off of it assuming it was all correct. So,
Finally, in 2010,
the video also became popular, and in a few days, he had broke 10K subscribers. It seemed he had stumbled onto a niche that people were thirsty for. By the end of February, he had 2 more videos out, and as of writing this, he has published 28 videos on speedrunning and world record progressions, each time increasing his level of polish and execution. Currently, his channel sits at 664,000 subscribers and has accumulated almost 60 million views. So, how did he do it? Summoning Salt's videos combine lots of archive footage of speedruns dating back to the first known speedrun of the game, except in some cases where footage of that run isn't even available due to the technology of the time the speedrun originated. But even in cases where the footage is unavailable, he does a great job researching old internet forums and speaking with people who are in the speedrunning community and getting first or second-hand accounts of what the person did to set the bar for the current world record, and recounting what was going on in the scene at the time. In the case of most games, a decent amount of time will go by, sometimes even years, before anyone else develops interest in running the game. But once they do, things start to get really exciting. Summoning Salt's videos will then cut between different runners, showing them slowly one-upping each other using archive footage either from the run they submitted or from the actual Twitch stream they did while breaking the world record. All the while explaining what optimizations were made to lower the time, and usually introducing other players who discover new shortcuts, glitches, and sequence breaks. Usually the race to lower a time will stabilize at a certain point, once someone makes a run involving a high amount of skill and usually a significant amount of luck as well.
I got it! Yes! You can't beat this run. I'm sorry.
Months or even years may go by before someone else comes along and starts to challenge the world record. And when they do, the action heats up again. Often the old world record holder will come out of retirement to take back their title, and sometimes they do it in only a matter of weeks. But anytime a world record is challenged, it always seems to attract a few runners for an all-out duel for the title. And this is what makes these videos so fascinating to watch. Summoning Salt's style is also usually very calming. He uses a more natural speaking tone while explaining the intricacies of the techniques involved. The font featured prominently in his videos, giving the names of the runners, the dates of the footage used, and in all his thumbnails, is a free-to-use font called Retro Gaming. In the background, Summoning Salt often plays music from the games showcased in the videos, other popular retro game music, or more recently, playing license-free music from an artist known as Home. If you are a fan of his videos, you are going to be very familiar with the relaxing tones of the track We're Finally Landing. And as a longtime Summoning Salt fan, I was actually surprised to realize that in the 28 world record progression videos he's done, only the last 8 include this track, which has become a staple in all of his videos moving forward. Whenever a new video drops and you click on it to hear We're Finally Landing start, you know you're in for a good time. But it's not just the music that Summoning Salt uses that makes it noteworthy, it's how he uses it. He often syncs up the cuts with the music for incredible dramatic effect. And all of this combined creates a relaxing but fascinating long-form video history of the speedrunning for that game. So, what goes into researching each of these videos? Obviously, Summoning Salt, while undeniably a very prolific speedrunner, doesn't have experience in every single game he covers. I reached out to him to ask what challenges he faced in making videos on games that he has little to no knowledge about before starting out. He confirmed that it did make it more difficult, but that he would either play the game himself or watch others play it, and then mostly go to others in the speedrunning community for whatever game he was working on, and rely on them for information. And in every video he's done, there's been a list of names for people he credits, helping him with information and understanding of the game, its strategies, and the speedrunning community associated with it. And by going to people in the know and getting their stories of the scene at the time, he's able to create both incredibly entertaining and informative pieces. This isn't to say that Summoning Salt has a monopoly on the topic of world record progression videos. If you do some searching on YouTube, you'll find that others have adapted this concept with their own styling. One of the earlier content creators to start doing videos in this subgenre is a YouTuber called Retro, who seemingly came out of nowhere. His first video on cheating and speedrunning was published in May of 2017, just months after Summoning Salt had arrived on the scene. And while this video wasn't technically a world record progression video, I would definitely consider it adjacent. And Retro's next video, which was released on November 23, 2017, was a deep dive into the world record progression of Ocarina of Time's Any Percent, easily one of the most popular speedruns of all time. Retro actually reached out to Summoning Salt before and asked if he felt it would be okay for him to make the video, and he said yes.
Before we get started, I'd like to thank Summoning Salt for giving me the A-OK to go ahead with this video, as inspired by his World Record Progression series.
In the video, Retro does a great job explaining old strategies, even spending large amounts of time explaining routes that have long since been outdated. Retro also adds a certain amount of snark, not often found in Summoning Salt's videos.
Focus. You can't be perfect at this game for 5 hours, he said. Some mistakes are going to slip in. Well, wise words from Mr. Damiani there.
And uses a different lower third instead of the Retro Gaming font. But he still pulls screenshots from old internet forums discussing the game and uses a lot of archive footage from old speedruns. It's a little sad because after this, the only other video Retro published is a documentary on the history of speedrunning in general. It's a very well researched piece, and considering how much there is to cover in such a short amount of time, Retro does a great job explaining the ideas behind speedrunning, the history of it, and introducing complications the community has had in recent years. I wasn't able to find any history on Retro in the speedrunning community apart from creating these videos, and it seems that he was just a huge fan. Another one of the earlier creators of these videos is Average Trey, who has 3 videos explaining different world record progressions. 2 on different speedrunning categories in Super Mario Sunshine, both the Any Percent, where the goal is simply to finish the game as fast as possible, and 120 Shines, which is this game's form of a 100% run. His other video is on a Flash game called Ooh and Ah's Fetch-A-Fruit, which is somewhat of a
meme game
in the speedrunning community. Similar to Summoning Salt, Average Trey is also prominent in the speedrunning scene, and holds high spots in the leaderboards for each of these games and others as well. In Average Trey's videos, he adopts a higher energy in the voice.
Is Mario Sunshine not worth speedrunning? Are the cutscenes just too unbearable? Is the whole game simply hover to win? Well,
and uses more editing techniques, such as lowering the opacity and layering multiple moving objects on the screen at the same time. This is all used to inject more comedy into the video, and it pays off well.
the following week, Konku cut a little less than a minute off his time, and got a particularly dank world record.
And while he does use some lower thirds, he will also showcase the runners' names and icons for a brief moment before discussing them, a technique that would go on to be used by others making similar videos. After this, other prominent speedrunners started making world record progression videos on games they have run themselves. The world record progression video for Pokemon Snap was made by CC Neverender, a runner who currently holds many records in the game, including first place on the 100% Wonderful Wii U Virtual Console category. The world record progression video on The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD was made by Linkus7, a runner who currently holds the Any Percent on the original Wind Waker, as well as the first place in all dungeons and 100% speedrun in the Wind Waker HD. And, more recently, Small Ant 1's video on Super Mario Odyssey, which he currently holds 6 different records on, including 2 first place records for Any Percent 10 capture and Any Percent 13 capture. There are other videos out there on world record progressions. But the one thing all of these videos have in common, including the ones I've mentioned, is that they are all mostly one-off videos from prominent speedrunners for each game. Their channels, unlike Summoning Salt, aren't dedicated to creating more of these world record progression videos. But there has been a newer channel on the scene that has been doing just that. Called SpeedDocs, this channel was founded by CC Neverender and CJ It's All Good. You may remember CC as the creator of the Pokemon Snap video. He did this with the help of CJ, and together, they decided to form another YouTube channel dedicated to speedrun documentaries. Their first video, published August 21st of 2018, was focused on telling the story of Fable The Lost Chapter's Any Percent speedrun, and showcased a lot of similar techniques present in most of the videos I've already mentioned. The major innovation that SpeedDocs has added, apart from some higher level production values, is getting actual audio interviews with other speedrunners for the game. And I was able to sit down with both of them and get an actual audio interview as well to discuss what inspired them to create their first video and what led them to go on to create more. CC, you obviously are a speedrunner in the Pokemon Snap community, and that kind of led you to make the first video on your own channel. What inspired you to make that first step and making that first video, and kind of how did that lead you to go off to want to create SpeedDocs?
I just sort of thought, you know what, no one's going to do a video on Pokemon Snap. And that's like the game, the game that we both play a lot, and it's the game that I'm really invested in. And I thought, you know what, no one else is going to make it. I could probably make a video, right? And in 2018, it was going to be the 10th anniversary of the oldest Pokemon Snap speedrun recorded. And I had met CJ at that point, and I had talked about it just sort of offhand, and he does video editing, and he was like, you know what, let's do it. And the response was really good. I kind of expected it to get a couple thousand views, but then it just kept going. And I think by the end of the event, it had close to 100K. And wow. We're like, okay, well, you know what, there's obviously a market for it. We had a lot of fun doing it. I have a lot of fun researching that kind of stuff. And I think we knew that there were a lot of games out there that we follow personally that weren't going to be covered by anyone ever. So it's like we could be the people that...
Awesome. Yeah. Currently, their channel has 10 videos, most of which either CC or CJ have some placements in the speedrunning categories for. But some of their videos, such as the ones on Zelda the Minish Cap and Donkey Kong Country, are not games they personally run. I asked them how they came to choose these games and what that process was like. Some of the other most of the other videos you've done, at least one of you has experience in the speedrunning community. You've got a few records on them. I guess obviously that would lead you to pick some of these games, but like, what is it like creating games or creating videos on games that you haven't personally speedrun?
So the way that we pick the games that we speedrun is that we either know somebody in that community because we're friends with them from a game that we play, or we speedrun that game ourselves.
I think originally when we did the Snap video, we wanted to differentiate ourselves. Like, we didn't want to just be like a clone, you know. We wanted to actually make our own content. So one of the things that I thought was really interesting is, like, when you talk to actual runners of the game, you get a lot more information that you don't get just by watching the videos or looking at the leaderboards or the spreadsheets. There's a lot of stuff in between the lines there.
So the first few videos, like Fable and Tony Hawk's Underground, CC had already speedrun those and already had made friends in those communities. And other games like Minish Cap and Donkey Kong Country, we had met people that had played those games and we were friends with those people. So it was kind of like easier just because they knew the game and we knew them. Like, either we know the history ourselves because we were there, or we're pretty good friends with someone that was there.
Yeah.
And sort of that led to the selection process.
And while their channel only sits at 14K subscribers, I have no doubt that this will increase exponentially over time. While the niche of this subgenre of world record progression videos is small, clearly there is a big interest, as any video on the topic has driven huge views. And I'll be the first to admit, I've been a fan of them since the first video I saw on the topic years ago. It's undeniable that Summoning Salt is by and large the most popular and respected source on the topic. After all, he is the originator of the world record progression video. He pioneered an entirely new subgenre, and his use of music in his videos has become legendary. And while I will always eagerly await a new video from him popping up in my subscription feed, I eagerly await any more videos made chronicling the history of speedrunning world records. People like the Speed Docs crew, Retro, and even Summoning Salt himself have shown that you don't have to be a speedrunner of the actual game you want to create a video on to do the research and to make these videos happen. Sometimes reaching out with absolute sincerity and wanting to tell a good story can often be enough. In fact, while reaching out myself for this video, I was amazed at how forthcoming everyone was in sharing their story. Speedrunning communities are often known for how welcoming they are, and my experience with them while making this video only backs up that claim. As sure as the day is long, we will keep seeing more of these world record progression videos, and just like the speedrunning community keeps pushing their times to be faster and faster, they will keep pushing these videos to be more well produced and fascinating to watch as time goes on. Thank you very much for watching this video, and another huge shout out to Summoning Salt and CC Neverender and CJ It's All Good for taking the time to speak with me and helping me tell this story. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. I normally do documentary style videos based on game development and the gaming industry at large, but sometimes I like to do videos like this one and spice it up a little bit. Also, I just quit my job last month. I'm hoping to coast on some savings I have and keep creating videos like this for the next month and a half-ish. But if you feel so inclined to help, I do now have a Patreon where I post some exclusive content every month. Also, I do a weekly gaming news talk show called Around the Monitor that I live stream every Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/KingKaiser, where me and a rotating crew talk through the week's news and gaming. If someone makes the best arguments on their opinions, they get to be that week's winner on the show. And now, thanks to some Twitch functionality, you can actually vote along and help decide who wins. And of course, we have a Discord for which I'll put the link in the description below. Either way, thank you once again, and have a wonderful day.